Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. As the first U.S. presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris approaches, the world watches closely, recognizing the profound impact that the United States elections have on global politics. For Ambazonia, this moment presents a unique opportunity to capture international attention, particularly with the United Nations General Assembly set to convene. The Ambazonian leadership has enacted a nationwide lockdown as part of a strategic effort to communicate the urgency of the crisis in the nation, which started yesterday and continues. Leveraging the global audience tuned in for these key international events. The lockdown is more than a protective measure. It is a bold declaration to the international community. Ambazonia seeks to disrupt the false narrative of normalcy perpetuated by the colonial regime, instead spotlighting the ongoing violence, human rights abuses, and instability in the nation. As the world's eyes turn towards the United States election and the broader international discourse, Ambazonia is keen to amplify its voice, calling for urgent intervention and a lasting resolution to the conflict. The collective readiness of Ambazonians during this lockdown highlights their resilience and unity in the face of adversity. The importance of this action cannot be overstated. It is a powerful plea for justice and peace, demanding that the world take notice and also take action. By aligning their cause with the global spotlight, Ambazonians aim to ensure that their struggle is heard loud and clear on the world stage. With that, we'll get onto the prime headlines.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied.
Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless, and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republique has succeeded. This is about Ambazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia. Donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Well, we want to apologize for that technical glitch in there. But back onto the news. Well, as the first United States presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris approaches, the world is watching closely and recognizing the profound impact that the United States elections have on the global politics. For Ambazonia, it is a moment that presents a unique opportunity to capture international attention, particularly with the United Nations General Assembly set to convene. The Ambazonian leadership has enacted a nationwide lockdown as part of a strategic effort to communicate the urgency of the ongoing war in Ambazonia. The lockdown that already started yesterday, Monday, and continues through to 16th of September, leveraging the global audience tuned in for this key international event. Well, the lockdown is more than a protective measure. A bold declaration to the international community is actually what it is. Ambazonians seek to disrupt the false narrative of normalcy perpetuated by the colonial regime, instead spotlighting the ongoing violence, human rights abuses, and instability in the region. As the world's eyes turn towards the United States elections and the broader international discourse, Ambazonia is keen to amplify its voice, calling for urgent intervention and a lasting resolution to the ongoing conflict. The collective readiness of Ambazonians during this lockdown highlights their resistance and their resilience in unity in the face of adversity. The importance of this action cannot be overstated. It is a powerful plea for justice and peace, demanding that the world take notice and also take action. By aligning their cause with a global spotlight, Ambazonians aim to ensure that their struggle is heard loud and clear on the global stage. Well, with that, we'll head on to the prime headlines. And these are the prime headlines for tonight. Ambazonian refugees survive against all odds. The ASA on a strategic operation, as well as the African scene where we get to see what happened in Nigeria with a fuel tanker, and on the foreign scene as well. We get to look at the updates on the Kamala Harris and Donald Trump debate set to happen soon. Well, with that, we'll get on to the full briefings of Undaunted tonight.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war Ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied.
Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless, and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republique has succeeded. This is about Ambazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia, donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Oh, well, we'll take a look at what is happening during this lockdown, the national lockdown declared by the government of Ambazonia. Well, the start of the 2024-2025 academic year in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has been marked by uncertainty and disruption due to the ongoing war. But then the national lockdown that was declared by the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia federal government has been observed on the first day of school, resulting in largely deserted schools and a significant disruption to the education sector. We're taking a look at images. We're going to take a look at images from Boya. Well, the lockdown, which was implemented to convey a strong message to the international community about the ongoing situation, had a profound impact on the nation of Ambazonia. In key educational hubs like Bamenda and Boya, as you can see, even Montegene and other parts of Ambazonia, schools remained closed and businesses as well as public transportations were also shut down for this lockdown period. Parents, fearing for the safety of their children, opted to keep them at home, resulting in empty classrooms and a lack of activity in areas that would normally be bustling with students, which goes a long way to show the strict adherence of the national lockdown as declared by the government of Ambazonia. The Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia federal government has stated countless times that it is not opposed to education, but rather prioritizes the safety and well-being of children in the conflict-affected region. And in a statement, the Secretary of State for Communications and IT, Dr. Martin Mungwa, emphasized that the government is committed to creating a conducive environment for education to resume. But this requires a ceasefire and peaceful negotiations for separation, The ongoing war has had a devastating impact on the education sector in the nation, with many schools having been closed for extended periods. And the situation has resulted in significant learning losses for students. And there are concerns about the long-term impact on their educational outcomes and future prospect. But then, as we've heard, the government said all of those will be put in place once justice is served to Ambazonia. But in the meantime, safety is primary. In some areas, reports has it that a few private and mission schools attempted to resume, but attendance was very poor. The conflict in the southern Cameroons, now in its 8th year, has significantly disrupted education in the region. And in recent years, schools have been damaged. Teachers as well as students have also been caught in the crossfire of the war. The La Republic government has repeatedly called for schools to reopen, emphasizing the importance of education for the country's future and not to ignore the safety of Ambazonian children as well as the teachers, whose lives do not matter to the colonial regime at all. The regional governor, Bernard Okalia Belai, who refers to Ambazonians at one point as animals, recently urged parents and teachers to defy the lockdowns, describing education as a national priority. How about safety? However, his calls were met with resistance from the local population, who are seeking independence for the region. The conflict has resulted in a significant disruption to education, with many schools closed and students unable to attend classes regularly. The situation has raised concerns about the long-term impact on the education sector and the future prospects of students in the region. The region understands the sufferings and reasons why the whole of Victoria in Ambazonia respected the lockdown today, the national lockdown today. As you can see, there are also images from Victoria that shows the Amba spirit strong. A statement released by Archbishop Andrew Nkia, where he calls for children to be allowed to go back to school peacefully, something that Dr. Martin Bungwa, the spokesperson for the Ambazonians government, reacted to. As you saw the images of the communique, a message sent out by Dr. Martin Bungwa, the Secretary of State for Communications and IT, whom emphasized that the action of Bishop Nkia have been both controversial and problematic. According to the communique, Dr. Martin Bungwa highlighted all Bishop Nkia's entire body language and attitude, which is all against the Ambazonian culture because of what the communique stated to be greed and his political ambitions. Well, while we'll go on to the next report, we have to pause here for a minute and get in a legal mind in the person of Barrister Mgbeseha to join us here at Undaunted to delve deeper into this particular topic of concern. Good evening, Barrister Mgbeseha, and good evening, Commander Elvis.
Good evening, Undaunted, for having us. Commander Elvis, you are muted.
Thank you.
I want to be sure you can hear me. Good evening.
Yes, I can hear you. Just wanted to say good evening, Undaunted as well, and good evening, Barrister Mgbeseha. And thank you, Undaunted, for having us once more.
All right, we'll just go for a very quick break because there seems to be some issues with receiving your sound, so we have a better communication tonight and talk about all the reports of concern. Sorry about that right there, but we'll be right back in a very short bit. Do stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. I want to be sure I can hear you loud and clear right now. Good evening again.
Yeah,
Good evening, gentlemen.
good evening, Undaunted. Good evening, Store. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
All right, it's good to have you back, and it's good to hear you loud and clear. Please, going to you, Barrister Mgbeseha, we've talked about school resumptions, we've talked about the safety of children, we've talked about the government policy vis-a-vis schools resuming. And now looking at today's lockdown and the fact that Ambazonians thought it wise enough to respect the lockdowns and not come out en masse, that is something that it's commendable. But then we're looking at the other flip side of Bishop Nkia, who over time, according to Dr. Martin Mungwa, has acted problematic, probably for hopes of political gains and political influence and all of that. Looking at that side of it, the flip side of it, what would be your remarks in that regard?
I think this offers us an opportunity to explain what it is all about. It looks to me, because I follow Francophone media a lot, Equinox, and I hear their commentaries. It looks to me that they don't understand actually what this is about. They don't seem to understand. And I wish that if they could follow us in what we are saying, they might understand us better. Because I watched them yesterday. Everywhere they were crying, Ambazonian fighters, whatever thing they call it, had prevented schools, children from going to school. Now, that is not what lockdown is all about. For them to understand what it's all about, they just need to look back 5 years, 7 years back and see how this thing started all about it. In 2016, the Kintasang said, come Monday, you will know who controls Southern Cameroon. He was not talking about physical control, he was talking about the moral control. What did he mean? That call goes down, lockdown on Monday. I said, when it comes on Monday, you will see where they will obey these orders. To lock down on Monday. It's a moral order. If they lock down, it means you have lost control of Southern Cameroon because you don't have moral authority to give orders to them. In 2019, still 2016, Agombala said, amongst other things, you're locking us up because we're asking for a federation. There will come a time when you would offer that federation and nobody will be willing to take it. I want them to hear these things. Thirdly, in 2019, Mr. Wilbur, who was a member of parliament, stood on the floor of parliament and said, if you don't address this Southern Cameroon thing, call your Anglophone problem. There will come a time where you can gather all your forces, including the forces from France. You will not be able to defeat Ambazonia, or he call it West Cameroon. So if you look back to that time, 5, 7 years back, and then bring it to what is happening today, what happens after this week lockdown? What happens? That will bring us to what we've been saying. After this 1 week lockdown, which is symbolic, which I'll come to explain, as far as this government is concerned, you'll be free to send your child to school if you are sure of his security. Why are schools important in this thing? Because if you go to a school and have, say, for example, 1,000 students, 500 students, the 500 students will probably come from 400 different homes. The school is the core of the home. And so the 400 children, 500 children in the school is a representation of a large community of families. And so at the end of this lockdown, the policy remains, if you, the parents, you feel that it is good to send your child to school, it is safe for you to send your child to school, go ahead and do it. But as we have said in our own communique, prioritize the safety of your own children more than the physical going to school. And so what is this all about again? The lockdown has a dual purpose. First, it's not to us Ambazonians now because we have been used to it. We have been doing it for the past 7 years. It is meant to remind Yaoundé in particular that they have lost control of Ambazonia. They're not in control. We're not dealing with what they call law and order. Law and order is when you bring your policemen and your captains and so on, and they force people with their guns. A rare community is ruled by the free will of the people, not by guns. Not because you shoot them that they are afraid to take your orders. And so, Yaoundé should have realized by now that the deployment of bees, creation of military camps left and right in schools, in villages, in compounds, is not a solution. The people might keep quiet, but they are not obeying because they want to obey you. They are obeying because you are forcing on them what you call law and order with the gun. Law and order with the barrel of the gun is not the free will of the people. That is the message to Yaoundé. It is also a message to the international community that there is a problem here, which was essentially a creation of the international community. Whatever problem we have today was the creation of the United Nations General Assembly, was a refusal to respect their own text, to refuse to implement the 1946 Trust Agreement. That was their document. We didn't take part in writing it. It was them who created the so-called independent by joining, which purportedly forced us to join these people where things have not gone well. It was they who passed Resolution 1514 and said people should have independence, no matter their size, no matter their economy, no matter their level of education. They disregarded their own text and created this problem. So the lockdown is a reminder to them that people are dying here because you created the problem. Can you remedy it? You must. I saw people in the UK Parliament talking about it. It is a creation. If you've forgotten it, remember yourself that this is your creation. And so this is lockdown. As Secretary of State, Mr. Mungwa, puts it out there. It should be a reminder, as he says it there, to the Christians who are working under the auspices of Cardinal, the Vatican ambassador, who are working under the auspices of Archbishop Undaunted. The 400 children in the community, if they are, let me just say Bameda, if there are 400 children in the school, which is locked down, among those 400 children, you will have at least 200 Catholic children. So, the church in general and the Archbishop Bameda is out of touch. They didn't close down schools, no lockdown closed schools. We, Ambazonians, we cannot reopen what we did not close. We never close down any schools. If schools close down, it is because people saw danger. They didn't see danger from Amba fighters. They saw danger from government guns. It is government shooting them. It is responsibility of government to protect you. And as I see it, it is done with their own eyes. I've seen them just the past 24 hours. They are administrators going around the schools to be sure they are open. They themselves testifying that the schools are closed. There's no Amba guy standing at the gate of a school. Usually, people are not going there. I saw one of them, maybe in Gokutinja, the prefect or sous-prefect, he went to school. Met the man there and said, well, there's no principal. I say he understands it because the principal himself has turned down the job. Say, I'm not coming here. Don't give me a principalship. Own it. I don't want to go and die there. And so if an adult says, I don't want to take a job for which he's paid because I'm afraid of my life, why will you, a parent, risk sending your child there? Your little boy of 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Is it worth the trouble? No. Why is there this violence? The bishop, the archbishop, the Vatican ambassador, and whoever is interested. Once we take away the violence, we address the causes of the violence, schools will resume in a normal way. And as I've said many times before, the presence of military people, police people, armed gangs, private militia in schools is illegal. It's not allowed under UNESCO. It's not allowed under UNICEF. And so that is not a school-friendly environment. Until you make the school environment friendly, you cannot talk about schools. But who decide whether the school environment is friendly? It's the parents. I'm sure every parent loves his or her children. If you choose to put them on the arm's way, so be it. But remember, once you deliver the child becomes the child of the world. I will cry for your child, even though I don't know when the child was born. So that is it. We have not closed down schools. The lockdown is not intended to close down schools. It's intended to send a message to the world at large, and to Yaoundé in particular, that you are not in control of anything Ambazonia. You can carry your gun touting soldiers, whatever thing you have there. It does not bring law and order. If you want to be sure there's peace, maintain the peace. You have the police, you have the courts, you have everything with you there. Maintain the peace, and let us say, it is not Ambazonia preventing you from maintaining the peace. It is just because you are incapable of doing it. And remember again, Patterson said in 2016, come Monday, we will know who controls Ambazonia. Can our Republic say they control Ambazonia today? No. Have they defeated us militarily? No. We have reminded them from the floor of Parliament. You will bring all the soldiers you have, add the ones from France, and the ally that you have, and you will not be able to defeat Ambazonia. If they have any reasoning in their heads, they should look back to history and learn from all this. So again, the lockdown is not concentrated on schools. It has so many purposes because the lockdown is going to end after 1 week. And so what happened to schools? Will this resume? According to us, it's unsafe. If you, the father, the mother, the parents, think that your child is safe, so be it. If Bishop Andrew or his allies, whoever, if they have children to send, then send the children there. If the bishop has power to go and bring the people who have escaped to Nigeria for safety, so they can come back to Akwaya and go to school, let him do it and we see. Because you can talk is cheap, action is difficult. Over to you.
Yes, Barrister Mgbeseha, that reiterates the government's policy on leaving the choice to take your child to school in the parents' hands. But what is interesting is seeing this colonial force, not just the colonial forces now, the colonial administrators, people who, like Okalia Bilai, who has once upon a time referred to Ambazonians as animals and more, urging and coercing parents to take their children to school, disregarding the security concerns. Like the most important thing at this point is what he has shown is just take your children to school, disregarding the security concerns. And this is somebody who does not really regard Ambazonians as much, looking at the fact that he has described them at one point as different kinds of animals. And you see this colonial administrators coercing parents. And then you start to wonder, what is in it for them? Why do they so desperately, the same Ambazonia that they do not provide roads for, all of a sudden they want Ambazonian students to go to school at all costs, not even trying to look at the security situation in Ambazonia. With regards to this particular part of Okalia Bilai coming in to urge parents to get their kids to school amidst the whole situation in Ambazonia, is there something dicey about it you'd like us in on? Barrister Mgbeseha, do you think there's something fishy about his own coercing parents into getting your children to school amidst everything, knowing he doesn't exactly care about Ambazonians?
No, I don't think it's being just fishy. It's just criminal. Because I'm not there. Bilai, Okala Bilai, is supposed to be the governor who lives in Boya. But he's not alone. There's another one in Bamenda, Lily Afrik. He comes from Bunda. I remember very well, there's a French school in Boya. There are French schools in Bamenda. Why has Okala Bilai not moved the children from Douala to come and put them in the French school in Boya? Why has Lily Afrik not moved his children from Bunda to come and send them to the French school in Bamenda? If the safety is there, when they transfer you, for example, why they're not living there? Why do they think that it is not safe for their own children to go to school in Boya? and Bamenda respectively. This man in Kumba, Chamberlain somebody, is a francophone, he's a dude there. There's a French school in Bamenda in Kumba. It did not bring their own children there. It did not just being criminal to urge you to take your own children risk. Let them preach by example. These are my children going to the French school downtown in Boya. I know there's a francophone school, they're purely francophone for French. Let them go and do the school. There's a French school in Bamenda, several of them, not only one. In addition to the French, purely French school, there are bilingual schools in Bamenda, there are bilingual schools in Boya, where their children could attend. The children are not attending those schools. And then they're telling you that, well, just send your own child. They don't care if your child dies, why their own survives. So it's not just being, they are just being, I don't care the insults Mr. Bilal. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he's so angry that he should go on retirement, but he's not going. So I think they are just speaking both sides of their mouths. They are criminals, they are liars, they are propagandists. Over to you.
All right, that goes a long way to explain a lot. Well, according to reports we're seeing, Ambazonians are not going to be fooled by any of their coercion, because all of the schools from different parts of Ambazonia have been deserted. We see that in Ngoketunja, school administrators, including the Colonial DO for Ndop and the Secondary Educational Divisional Delegate, who visited the GBHS Mwekong and found the campus empty. In a video statement, they noted that the school's principal and staff were also absent, highlighting the ongoing respect to the lockdown. Then we also see in Boya, similarly, the capital of Ambazonia, only mission boarding schools reported, and even at that, with very low attendance on the resumption day. Meanwhile, during a visit to the Baptist High School Boya Presbyterian Comprehensive Secondary School Boya, the Bishop's Rogan College, the Governor Bernard Okale-Bilai also expressed surprise at the low turnout. It is no shock, it is no news. I mean, parents are wise enough, first of all, to consider the safety of their children, and secondly, to be part of those who would not join those who perpetrate a sense of normalcy in the total chaos going on in Ambazonia. Well, coming to you, Commander Elvis, we have this report on the Ambazonian State Army on military alert. We have this report that talks about the bold display of the Ambazonian State Army, seeing Commander Onlibro, who proudly showcased his forces in full gear, demonstrating the capacity and resolve of the Ambazonian people. The event was a testament to the pride and determination of the Ambazonian fighters who are fighting for their rights and for their freedom. We'll take a look at this video of General Onlibro and the Ambazonian State Army. Let's quickly get this video, and then we'll get back to you after we get this video.
Army, oye! Oye! Ambazonia State Army, oye! Oye! Today na 10 September 2024. Now we will start for road here. Now the naked wire of pharmacy. The naked wire of pharmacy. Now then they for road today for proof on up. say then they. How will they want proof and don't say then they? We don't hear say when they talk say go stand there. People then go the worker, people then go the motor then the strong head, motor then go the do some kind of thing. Now we will do for here today. We don't need fly, we don't need motor. This group now group for second Satan. We don't talk them, and it will be so. When they hear say a second Satan, they go to work and find out work and do this. Una not ever see them, una not ever see them. And the very second Satan when we don't fix them, now we discover them, and now we go book them with them. Can una send any which kind gun? Say me come for Bamisi. Now we there for Bamisi. All that school then when they for up. They wear uniform, they go. Okay. All that school then when they for up, they wear uniform, they go school. All that school then when they for inside Bamunka, inside Bamisi, inside Balang, inside Ndop as a whole. The 30 villages them. My yes, the school they go. Where me I never give order. Then go no say inside hand day, back hand day. From today as I talk. Then for that time, me and whole Ambazonian know say how we will do for you today. How we will serve for Ambazonian land. Then they talk say we will not be Ambazonian State Army. We be start within the Ambazonian State Army. We can't die where we be in the Ambazonian State Army. What power be born we in the same way for this war on Sagon? Sagon don't die, he don't go, he don't left we. We dey follow a footstep. We no ever change no way if she don't talk say na Ambazonian State Army. Person wey like we say we be Ambazonian State Army, he go call am. Person wey not like am, no call we Ambazonian State Army. We go die for Ambazonian State Army. We go die for Baksako. We go die for back the group. Now why we come for here today for make am me all man. Till where we make am. Till where road no start for pass. I hear say motor don't pass for road na die man. I hear say civilian worker for road na die man. I hear say only goat pass for road na die goat. Life. We dey for Bamisi. Re-road. Motor comot first enter na for Bamisi. Now we start and now we go end am. I say una name na who? Naked wire. Una name na who? Naked wire. Ambazonia State. Ambazonia State. Ambazonia State. And we go there for Ambazonia State. Person wey want crazy. Person wey want crazy. Person wey see the group so. If they make the worry, person wey see the group, make the worry, me go hang. Me go die. Person wey see the group talk say, them go send and they kill and all. Now we head. Look up. Now the selected one. Now the selected one. They go. Now the selected one then this. The rest day for us. They look how way back there. This one are the selected one. Yes. Inside the 3 stone, the way they be start the Bamisi. Now the only bro remain, and the only bro will go boya. The only bro will go boya. Will heal this group. Life. If motor like him, me pass see how it in the go day. If civilian like him, me pass see how it in the go day. We go die for Ambazonian State Army. We go die for the group. The one the way that they talk say me and Ayabacho this one I know they talk now. Una give me the number. Now una understand me. I talk with them. I never buy me. A whole 1 year today, I not get no man me support me. No man no day. No man no day for dreadland, but no go ever change my name. My name now Ambazonia Tasted Army, the naked wire of Bamisi.
Life.
The other man where discover.
So, Major Only Bro used the opportunity to highlight the strength and military capabilities of the Ambazonian forces, showcasing their ability to defend their people and territory. The display was a clear message to the world that the Ambazonian people will not be intimidated deterred from their struggle for independence. The Ambazonian forces, as you saw, dressed in full attire, marched and maneuvered with precision and discipline, demonstrating their training and readiness for battle. The display was a stark contrast to the chaos and instability that has plagued the region for years, showing the possible future of the Ambazonian State Army once Ambazonia reclaims her independence and the nation is even more stabilized. Well, over to you now, Commander Elvis. Like we heard from General Only Bro in that video where he did not just energize his team of fighters. He also used the opportunity to clarify the air about being in talks with Chris Anu or Cho Ayaba. He also took his time to do that briefly while he was gearing the men up for the coming days ahead. There is a lot to say about the Ambazonian State Army. There has been challenges. How do you manage to handle that as a commander?
Thank you very much, Star, for that question. I do hope you can all hear me clearly now.
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. First, I want to start by thanking the senior barrister for clearly articulating the reasons for the lockdown and how the whole etymology of the lockdown. And actually explaining the government perspective. The implementation on the other side is what I'm more or less more interested in. The government has put out a policy there, but as you can see, the Ambazonian State Army implements it in different ways. We do have a strategy directive, and we have to suit those tactics on the field to match the strategy that has been put forward. It is a clear understanding that the sanctity of life is paramount to us and our people. The military, because they have been based in the installations in school buildings. Any school building is a potential target. The reason for which the Ambazonian State Army has ordered for lockdown and has ordered parents to keep their kids at home so they are safe at home. They cannot guarantee their safety given that they could be caught in crossfire. Also, it's a laughing matter to see that a lot of Republic buffoons are coming out pushing for school resumptions, while at the same time they have our parents languishing in jails. They've killed most of our men. We have our Amazonian State Army, the majority of which are men in the first place, defending the land, and yet they're asking the parents who are in jail or those that have been killed asking their kids to go to school. If you don't care about the parents, how much do you care about these kids in the first place? Again, these guys are responsible, or the Ambazonian State Army, and just to be precise, that was Major General the Only Brother from Ngakatunja County, given his role and his authority as a Major General. He does not only speak for himself, he speaks for other senior commanders who fall under his chain of command. He has clearly articulated his stance, just like we see in the great state of Ngakatunja and other counties where they follow a chain of command. These fighters, they fight under the county, under the structures of the county, Each county has their own local government area, and these commanders are responsible for making sure that there is security in those areas under the jurisdiction. These commanders also report through the chain of command to the hierarchy, and that is how these decisions are implemented. So the lockdown decision, of course, we know that not all the counties or the local government areas have respected it, but our Amazonian State Army have taken clear notice of those violators, and they're made the message very clear that they would not be able to defend them in any way, shape, or form. So if you value education over the sanctity of life, then go ahead and send your kid to school. You'll be the one crying afterwards. But Ambazonia as a whole, we would not like to, lose any of our people. We want our people to be safe because we need them for tomorrow. We need them to build this wonderful nation. We want to build it together. So we're advising our parents to do the right thing and keep their kids at home. Again, Major General Onebro, as you see, is one of our great Ambazonian State Army, and he has clearly articulated his line of command, where he started under FM Sagan. May his soul rest in peace. It's understanding that there were some internal squabbles, like every family. There's always going to be misunderstandings. But at the end of the day, as a parent, if you're beating a child because he has done something, you don't beat him and send him out of the house. You beat him and then or her and bring him into the house. We are pleased, and I believe most Ambazonians, to see that the advice and the education that we're giving some of these Ambazonian State Army is getting into their brain, and they're starting to understand the structures for which they are fighting to defend. We understand that some people would still not be happy with these outings from Major General Onebro. But I can guarantee them that there's always going to be, there's, let me put it this way. We're going to get to that part after we've caught the elephant that we're fighting to get. So for now, we need all our forces focused. We need to bring them together regardless of our differences. Let them chase the big elephant. Once we catch that elephant, we're going to sit as a family and we're going to sort out who went wrong where and find out the appropriate punishments when the time comes. For now, I want to commend the Onebro for coming out very powerfully and making that clear statement to the world, to Ambazonians, and to the doubters, that he stands strong with his county under the structures that exist, and he is not wavering. Again, calling on all the civilians to stay at home, stay safe, calling on all those who have been violating the lockdown not to plow the roads, but make sure that they respect the decisions, because they are there to implement the laws and to enforce those laws. And it would be unfortunate that one of ours would want to violate these and would end up in the grave, like they say. A dead fly that doesn't hear would it would follow the grave or follow the coffin into the grave. So we hope that our people would not want to be that fly that would not hear that sound. So thank you again, Astor, for that opportunity to express my defense views on that matter.
Part of the school resumptions, the military aspect to it was certainly necessary to hear. Speaking of this outing by Commander Onebro, do you think that this display that we just saw sends a message to not just the colonial forces, but also to the entire globe? And what message do you think his outing here that we just saw sends?
Yeah, correct. And that message does send it's a very powerful message to the international community. Just like Barrister mentioned, we are in control of our territory. We might not be in control of 100%. That is not what we anticipate. But war always comes to an end when there is a stalemate, when the enemy is not able to control your territory and you are not able to control his territory. So there is that stalemate. And that is what we're actually showing the international community, that there is no way that the enemy can take over Ambazonia. They could control some places, like they're out there counting the school resumptions in a place like Kambe. But overall, they know that they do not control Ambazonia, and we are proving that to them. And the earlier the international community can step up and get that ceasefire in place, the better it is for our kids to be able to go back to school, and Ambazonia can rebuild itself. But if they just stand on the sideline and watch, we're just telling them that where the only bro is coming from, there are 1,000 more of his kind. And just like there are a million more to be made, Ambazonia is a land of milk and honey. And we trust in our great warriors. We think the only bro again for that great outing, it was Major General, the only bro for that great outing. That was a great show of force, which made it very clear to La Republique that we are in control of our territory and that there is no blinking. Thank you.
If Ambazonia wasn't a land of milk and honey, I don't think the battle to claim Ambazonia would be ongoing. Anyways, we're still in the news about Ambazonia right now, and moving away from the lockdown, moving away from the Ambazonian state army. We have the roads, which happens to always be in the news. If it's not in the news causing death, it is in the news revealing more suffering for Ambazonians. Infrastructure, which is crucial for improving the quality of life and fostering development in any nation. It's not the same with Ambazonia. In the case of the southern Cameroons, the state of infrastructure, particularly road networks, reflect a profound failure on the part of the colonial Yaoundé regime. The poor state of roads has led to tragic accidents and continues to stifle economic and social mobility. In the case of Ekondo Titi, we focus on the dilapidated roads in Ambazonia. We're just using Ekondo Titi this time as a prime example of how the neglected infrastructure has become not just a point of inconvenience, but a matter of life and death. The roads in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia are a cause for alarm as it is. Many roads are impassable, transforming routine travels into an ordeal. The infrastructural collapse is not a new issue. Of course not. It's been in the news. The colonial government has neglected Ambazonian roads for decades, showing little or no concerns for the consequences faced by the people of Ambazonia. When colonial administrator Atanga Nji finally addressed the problem at some point, he offered nothing but excuses, instead blaming heavy trucks for damaging the roads. What administrator says that? There was no mention of any plans for repairs or development. This explanation rings hollow when compared to other countries where trucks are equally heavy, but the roads remain intact. In Ambazonia, it seems the roads were never truly built to last, that if they were even built, only adding to the suffering of the peoples of Ambazonia. Now, what should be a straightforward commute has for many become an arduous journey marked by endless detours, broken vehicles, and in tragic instances, fatalities. For example, now looking at this road in Ekondo Titi, it is such a deplorable state that countless motorcycles and vehicles are damaged beyond repair after attempting to traverse the road. Motorcyclists who depend on their bikes for transportations as well as livelihood often find themselves having to push their vehicles through stretches of ruined roads. You can imagine the irony. Rather than riding these motorcycles, they have to push the motorcycles. These poor road conditions not only hinder personal and commercial mobility, but also exacerbate the sense of suffering experienced by Ambazonians on a daily basis. Now let's have a better visual glimpse of this kind of scenario. Something like what you're seeing on screen right now. The situation here is just one of many across Ambazonia, where poor road conditions have essentially made life more difficult for everyone. Well, the ongoing neglect of infrastructure in Ambazonia by the colonial Yaoundé is more than just a failure of governance. It is a symbol of oppression. Ekondo Titi's road network represents just one of the many tragic examples of infrastructure decay in Ambazonia. Residents and travelers alike face daily hardship, whether it be commuting to work, transporting goods, or attempting to access basic services. The state of the road here is reflective of a broader strategy of economic and social suffocation imposed by the colonial regime of Yaoundé, further reinforcing Ambazonians' growing resolve for reclaiming their independence. At this point, Amazonians know that waiting for the colonial regime to fix these problems is a waste of time. It is clear that any hope for better infrastructure or a higher quality of life lies only in the hands of Amazonian people themselves. This is why there has been a reinforced focus from waiting on empty promises by the colonial regime or excuses to reclaiming their independence. Only through self-determination can Amazonians rebuild their country and create the kind of infrastructure that every modern nation deserves, free from neglect and abandonment. Well, over to you now, Barrister Mgbeseha. I believe you might still want to say a thing or two with regards to the previous report on the ASA in general only road, but looking at the current report here of the dilapidated road infrastructure, which is no news, we'd like you to share your thoughts on this report.
Yes, I think Commander has said everything about the armed forces. But before I leave that mission, before I leave that segment, I would like to do something. I would like to ask a particular question as homework to the Archbishop of Bamenda, because it seems to implies all the time Ambazonians have done this, they have done wrong, lay down your arms and do this and that. I will talk about school resumption. At least the Archbishop of Bamenda knows a guy called Abdul Karim, who never carried any arms. He's in jail, who I'm sure is married with children. I think the Archbishop must also know somebody called Penn Terence, that I'm told was the vice principal of CAS Bambili. I'm sure he has a family and he has children. He's in prison, not because he carry any arms. So, what provision has the Archbishop in Bamenda and the Catholic Church there made for the children of these innocent people who are in jail in Yaoundé for them to go to school? If their parents are in jail for never carrying any arms, apparently just for saying that, Abdul Karim that I know, for saying that there's a problem, they are in jail for years, not for months, for years. And if the church in particular, if the church in general, and the Archbishop in particular, because these are his doorsteps. When the Cardinal came there, Abdul Karim came down on the White Horse to greet the church, the Catholic Church, with the Archbishop. And now you forgot about the poor man, urging people to go to school. Every altar can go to school, but not the child of Abdul Karim or Penn Terence and hundreds of others. I've just mentioned these two as examples. And so the church is failing in its duty. I said yesterday, when the bishop or when the cleric takes on his political robes, he must be careful of what he says. Because we, not being ordained priests, we're not addressing the church, we're addressing those individuals who are using their robes to preach their political views. And so that is what I wanted to say in that segment. They come to the road. You have said it all. What you find in the Kondo Titi is a tip of the iceberg with what obtains in the whole Ambazonia in general, in particular, and Indian in general and Indian in particular. For this one, in the 1961-62, there was a road going to Kondo Titi. I don't know whether we would call it a road, a bad road. I don't think where you find those women being carried on the back. Is it even a road? Does it fit the definition of a road? If you look through the dictionary, that's not a road. So it's not even a track. So I don't know what we can say. It's not even a road. A road where men unwillingly kiss men by their backs because they must carry back across the road. A road where even motorcycle people you say are paying them cannot even ride. You saw the guys falling in the mud, falling into holes. Is that a road? There's not even a road. So what existed there 30, 40, 50 years as a track of road has ceased to exist. There's no road. But why a condo titi? I've said this 1,001 times. A condo titi is significant in two different things. One, a condo titi is Indian. The bedrock of the oil and gas that passes through Sonara goes through the national hydrocarbons and exported abroad for money. Therefore, in principle, the condo titi in general and Dian in particular should have the best development because they have all the wealth in Cameroon. 60-70% of the wealth comes from Dian, comes from the condo titi. Let us put it. Why should they go through this? The second aspect of it is that the condo titi is part of Dian, from where the Prime Minister comes. The Prime Minister of Cameroon comes. He lives in Yaoundé. And if you can remember what Achu said before he died, country politics, Nanjange, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So where this scratching Mr. Diangote's back, at his own back, if he's a Prime Minister, he can't go there himself. Even if he chooses to go by helicopter, there's no landing place there. There's no school fee where they even landed with a helicopter. So why should these people go through this? Why should Indian go through this in particular? And why should Ambazonian go through this? We saw a few last week, I think. They were showing a stretch of road between my 17 and my 18. That's between my 17 and Boya. And Moya, there's a stretch of road in the middle of the town. There used to be tar there. It is all gone. It's all gone. There's nothing left there. Vehicles cannot cross. Bicycles cannot cross. You go on foot, you cannot cross. Why do we need to have gone through all this? And amidst all this, I saw out today a circular. I don't know what you can call it, a circular, from the CPD and political office in Yaoundé, signed by a certain Mr. Peter Mosonge, telling people to come to Boya Moleko Stadium to watch a film produced to honor Paul Biya as the most important president they ever had. But he wasn't even asking them just to do that. He asked the people, every division that you call it, which you call county, must produce 1.5 million to come help them project their film. And then it's a division or a county. They want them to contribute out of pocket. 1.5 million. Trek, come on bikes, they carry on backs to come to Boya and celebrate Paul Biya's film.
That's
We are really indeed we are cursed. We are cursed. Because Mosongo Usanda lives in Yaoundé. He's not just anything. Mosongo is an architect by training, trained in the UK. A sycophant of a diseased political party. The headman of something they call that has no meaning, has no existence. It is created only to give them more money. And you ask yourself, at his age, what does he need all this money for? If people must pay 1.5 million to watch a film, must put that out of his pocket. That is not even off to his pocket allowance. He wants the people to contribute the money and give him to celebrate Paul Biya, to celebrate Cameroon. The bottom line is, why does Ambazonia go through this? We should never have gone through this. I've said it before. All the money from Dian, just in Dian alone, could have helped Ambazonia construct highways, railways from Victoria to Womb. We will not even be talking about this nonsense of ring road anymore. Because the ring road to one, there would have been many more roads constructed out of our own monies. Because the so-called independent by joining did not call for the Republic to help us. We're not asking them to come and build our schools, to come and dig our roads. What enough money? Through the marketing board, through national cooperatives, through all these mineral resources to construct our own country, build our own roads. We're not beggars. And so the summary is we have gone through this for too long. And we've said, no, no, no. This must come to an end. And so we've told them like this, in theory, as I'm saying, and in practice, by sharing through the ghost towns, the lockdowns, that indeed we are in control. Might take time, people will die, but it will come to an end. Over to you.
Thank you, Barrister Mgbeseha. Well, that's only as crazy as it gets, asking people to pay $1.5 million to see a movie of a president who has barely done nothing for them. Well, as crazy as it gets, there's still more reports of the colonial military perpetuating injustice, this time victimizing bike riders in Ambazonia. Of course, it's been going on and on, but this time, let's bring it to the spotlight. Let's bring it into the news, because in Ambazonia right now, bikes have become artilleries. They've become ballistic missiles to La Republic forces and punishable by death, having a bike. Well, there is a preconceived notion by the colonial army that they are armed. These bike riders are armed or Ambazonian fighters. They are Ambazonian fighters. And so it has led to the victimization of bike riders. I mean, bike riders who are most likely graduates who cannot get a job and resorted to bike riding just to make ends meet in a neglected Ambazonia. All of a sudden, they're the targets for colonial forces. Military personnel are supposed to respect human rights vis-a-vis the international norms of war, but that professional approach is far from the exhibit or even the knowledge of the colonial military, who perpetually and on different counts disregards the law and human rights, especially with Southern Cameroon's Ambazonians. Over the weekend, we got another tragic incident which took place in Maine, where a commercial bike rider was shot and killed by La Republic forces. The military claimed that they mistook him for an Ambazonian fighter, an excuse that has become all too common and remains utterly inexcusable. This is not an isolated case. Many innocent civilians have fallen victims to similar circumstances, and the pattern only highlights the deep-seated issues of brutality and impunity within the colonial military force. A professionally trained army should be able to differentiate between a legitimate threat and an unarmed civilian. The rules of engagement in conflict zones are clear. If a person is not armed or posing any immediate risk, lethal force, it is unjustified to use brutal force. This is a basic principle of the ethics of war, yet it is routinely violated by the colonial police operating in Ambazonia, the colonial forces operating in Ambazonia. In countries with stronger legal systems, such as the United States, military personnel would be held accountable and prosecuted for shooting an unarmed civilian who poses no threat. But of course, not in La Republique. In the case of La Republique's military, these violations would, as they have always been, met with impunity, allowing the lawless behavior to continue unchecked. The continuous victimization of bike riders in Ambazonia at the hands of La Republique du Cameroon forces is a glaring reminder of the ongoing injustices faced by the peoples of Ambazonia. The colonial military's failure to distinguish, or purportedly fail to distinguish, between civilians and combatants, coupled with their disregard for human rights, human lives, only deepens the sufferings for Ambazonia. Until the military is held accountable for these unlawful actions, the cycle of violence and impunity will only continue to persist, leaving more innocent lives at risk. The people of Ambazonia certainly deserve justice, and it is imperative that they get that justice that they deserve, which is why this lockdown is also another opportunity to make their voice heard and put pressure on the global scene, to put pressure, in turn, put pressure on La République du Cameroon to come to the negotiation table and grant Ambazonia an independence that was stolen from them. Well, looking at the case here, we'll start with you, Commander Elvis. This is a very sad, pathetic situation. Commander Elvis, looking at the situation here, we have colonial police, colonial forces killing Ambazonians with impunity. But this time around, they've claimed it is just an accident that caused someone's life, mistaking the person to be an Amba fighter and an armed civilian. With regards to this, we'd like to get your thoughts. Commander Elvis.
Oh, thank you, Store, for that opportunity once more. This is definitely, as you said, not an isolated incident. We have reported, unfortunately, many of such incidents over the past 7 to 8 years. It is something that we are actually fighting against because to La République, no person in the territory of Ambazonia is free from any harm. Our people are constantly targets unjustly. Those that are targeted for extortion, those that are targeted and killed and buried without us ever knowing about their disappearances. There are so many cases. So unfortunately, it just happens that one of these cases was caught where they actually killed this biker, and they tried to shed crocodile tears to act as if they were sorry. They are not sorry. They know exactly what they're doing. That is a terror tactic that they're using against our people to intimidate our people, to be scared of them, so our people can succumb to whatever things they tell them. We can call on our people to be strong. There is nothing that would make our fate to waver. They should be determined more than ever before because we are together in this. Yes, we would lose some lives in this war. As we always say, there are some battles that we win, and there are some that we would not. But at the end of the day, we have to win the war against La République, and that is what we're going for. So we're calling on our people to remain steadfast, to remain resilient. We just want their safety to be considered a first option. Their safety counts, so we would like to see them safe. So the only way for us to be safe is when we work as one family. We should not betray our brothers. Some of our brothers have fallen, unfortunately, because some of their brothers betray them. We should learn to be our brothers' keepers. Ambazonia is a beautiful land, just like you mentioned earlier, the ideas of bad roads. You can see that is the kind of structure that we are fighting to get away from. We are not fighting to stay under a corrupt structure where the taxes of the people are being used to siphon them and send over to France so they can build their beautiful cities over there. And the president, whenever he's sick, he runs abroad to get his medical attention while leaving his country dilapidated. We are not building such a country. A country like La République de Cameroon, where they go and they train thieves in the names of governors and deals to come and learn how to extort, and they send them over to Ambazonia to come and extort, and our people are walking around unable to even ride on a normal road. That should be something that Ambazonians could do for themselves. We don't need somebody who is trained thieves to come and help us with that. Our people know how to get these structures, and that is the more reason we are fighting to make sure that we dismantle this structure that La République have held our people hostage on, and we are determined to go all the way. We call on the families of those that have already lost their loved ones. We sympathize with them. especially the family in this particular case of the motorcycle bike rider, the bike rider who was killed. We are sorry. We understand the pain that comes with it, especially he being the breadwinner. We've lost so many great men. So many great men are languishing in jails. Some have gone in exile, leaving behind everything they got. And that is the more reason we have to fight. We have to fight because we have to restore a dignified nation, a country that respects its people, a country that respects its law, a country where love is paramount, a country where our citizens are free to express their political opinions without any fear of being killed. We're calling on all great nations in the United Nations to hear our plea. Help us so that we can achieve our goal without shedding further blood. We thank you again, Star, for giving us this opportunity to be able to express to the international community our frustrations. There are so many. We know parents that have lost almost their entire families. How is their pain? It is just unbearable. And we're calling on the international community to be able to look at these scenarios and see these as some things that it's become a daily routine for us. It is not just a one thing. It is something that happens on a daily basis. I can basically show you images where our people have been killed on a daily basis, and like big terrorists would come up claiming that we mistook him for an Ambazonian. We are all Ambazonians. They would have to kill the whole southern Cameroonian territory, people in that territory, if that is what they go by, because we are all Ambazonians. And there is, whether I kill a bike rider, whether I kill all our traditional practitioners, they're being killed. They killed them because the fact that they claimed they were reinforcing our fighters, giving them spiritual powers to be able to fight back at them. They've killed all our traditional practitioners. They even killed those who stood up just to ask for some fairness in understanding. And they allow the crooked ones to be there to rule our people. We say no. That has to come to an end. And we're calling on the Ambazonian State Army. They are the force. They are the rule of law in our land at the moment. And they have to enforce these orders to make sure that La Republic terrorists, wherever they are, that they feel the pain that our people have gone through. There's no mercy for the wicked. And we have to chase them out of Amazonia until the gates are hell. So thank you again for that opportunity. And I think I made the point very clear.
Very clear. It is at this juncture we get back to you, Barrister Mgbeseha. We would like to hear your thoughts and your concluding statements for tonight. So we'll head on to the African news.
Once more, thank you, Commander, for the strategy. What you have said is very, very powerful. But I will just add this. As you have said, this is just one too many. Even from the language of the colonizer, the killer was a mistake. That is what also called in religions. But in military terms and military actions, those who commit those type of mistakes, if there are ever mistakes, are held accountable. They are held accountable for the mistakes, punished somehow for the mistakes. But could this ever have been a mistake? No, it was never a mistake. Because the Republic is fond of this. They have done all these things clearly. Their track record is clear. Remember, they went and killed a woman, an armless woman in Garoua, wherever, Marua, wherever, taking her baby in there. When caught red-handed, what did they say? It's actually the government spokesman said, well, that is happening in Mali. Try to hide it. It's not in Mali. When they could not go further and
Right at the end, right when we wanted to get your final thoughts, we're sadly having this connectivity issue. Barrister Mgbeseha, can you hear me?
I get you. I'm getting you.
Connection was breaking slightly. Would like you to take that again, please.
I said that 2017, 2018 or so before, it is in their track record to kill people. They don't have the power. Nobody in the world, no military in the world has the right to judge you and kill you, shoot you because they suspect you are an enemy. Call it Amber or just your opponent. What they are doing is criminal. And I've said that even when they admit that they have made an error. They try to hide their facts. And I was given the example of what happened when Esther Chiruma was the spokesperson for the government. They killed the woman in Marwa who had 2 children. Murdered her outright with the children. And one court handed, Esther Chiruma said the thing had happened only in Mali, that was never in Cameroon. One court, they accepted, yeah, that is true, it was us. We are punishing the guy who did it. And as you speak, we're not seeing where the guy was ever punished. They went to Ngarabu, murdered children, murdered women, and to hide their evidence, they tried to burn their corpses. Can that be a mistake? No. When caught right-handed, what did they say? They said it was a mistake. We're punishing the criminals, the one who did this. We're not seeing anybody punished. The only message I can tell them is, what they're doing in Ambazonia is not going unnoticed. They are going to be held accountable. If we cannot trace the individual shooters, the individual soldiers carrying the guns, we'll be able to trace the others, leave the others. You'll be held accountable in the criminal court, in the international system. You'll be held accountable because they are committing war crimes. They will only survive, they will only go free if by the time this war ends, they themselves are dead. War crimes don't get extinguished. They hang on you for life until you die. And so these things are not going unnoticed. Let Ambazonians rest assured that again, if we cannot find the individual guy who shot that bag rider, or at least we can trace officially who were his commanders. That's the essence of war. Foot soldiers obey the commander's orders. And so these people are not going to go unpunished. They will be held accountable. And above all, that's the reason why we fight. Why we fight. This is a criminal government having ministers in the name of, or politicians in the name of, for example, Ngala Gerard, who caused the death of children in the grandstand in Kambi. Ngarbu happened in Dongaman division. They sponsored all these things. So we know them. And they are carrying government uniform, driving in Pajeros and government cars, riding Mercedes cars in the name of government ministers, in the names of MPs. Well, nobody is too big for prosecution when it comes to who violate international law. They can hide for some time, but they will not hide forever. And so, as the commander says, we feel so sad that we lost people like that. But again, this is just one too many. I ask the question, what is even wrong that you just kill somebody because he's an Ambazonian? You kill him without trial, shoot him and he dies. And they think that we'll forget about that.
Mgbeseha, this
will never happen.
It's not really surprising looking at the fact that there's been even times where we've brought reports here that these colonial forces have gone on rampage because according to them, the Amba fighters, according to them, have killed one of their fellows in the military. And so they just go on rampage, literally shooting out in the open where there are civilians, venting out their frustration and shooting randomly at civilians. So it is really no surprise that they could just see someone and believe that he is an Amba fighter and shoot at him. The fact that they even gave an excuse this time saying it was a mistake is even a different scenario. There are times where with impunity, they go out to shoot innocent civilians due to venting their anger or however they put it. It is really no surprise. And your last words, if you have any other thing for tonight. So we'll wrap up with this particular segment and head on to the African news. Mgbeseha, Commander Elvis.
Well, I will just conclude by saying that, look, the commander knows rampage shooting, random killing is not a military strategy accepted anywhere in the world. Random revenge is not recommended anywhere in the military, in the defense, anywhere in the world. And so they cannot create their own rules of war. The international community recognizes war. War is today governed by some rules. If you violate those rules, you'll be held accountable as an individual, one. Two, as a country. Two, three, as commanders who give those orders. So we just encourage our people. That's what has happened, but let them rest assured. They were not sleeping. We will do everything possible within our own structures, within our own powers, to make sure these people don't go unpunished. Sooner or later, they're going to be held accountable. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Barrister Mgbeseha. Commander Elvis, your last words for Undaunted tonight.
You're muted.
Thank you again, Star Smart, for that opportunity. Once more, I really like the last part where Barrister mentioned very clearly that war crimes do not go unnoticed. That point should be taken very clearly. Even that message is a very resounding message that we are sending to our Ambazonian State Army, Armed Forces. Our force has clear code of conduct during war times. And the state army is here to defend the people. And by defending the people, they're upholding to their code of conduct. They have regulations which would allow them to execute that code of conduct. For example, they're supposed to be zero tolerance for alcohol consumption, zero tolerance for drug abuse, zero tolerance for rape, zero tolerance for extortion. So just to name a few, those are some of the code of conducts that our Ambazonian State Armed Forces are held to account by those standards. And these standards, we expect La Republique to also hold their terrorist forces at least to some code of conduct. And killing an unarmed civilian is not one of those, not in any international standard, by any international standards. So we are making it very clear that for every one Ambazonia that they have killed, our Ambazonian State Armed Forces will recruit more. We have a saying also that soldier go, soldier come, barrack stay, meaning that we would continue to grow our forces day in, day out. So you can imagine those kids that were maybe 1 year when the war started, they're already 8 today. A few years down the lane, they will be in the battlefield. And there are many more of those, even from the diaspora, that will be going down to join the fight. Again, we are calling on the people of Ambazonia. This is a win-win war for us. We have nothing to lose. We have everything to win. And we are calling on you to continue to support our state forces. Support them, because your security depends on them. They can guarantee your safety. You would also guarantee their safety by providing them with the intelligence that they need to be able to carry out their secret operations to make sure that the enemy is kicked out of our land. Do not give the enemy a free right to come into our land and kill our people. So we are calling on all Ambazonians again to be the watchman of the nation. You see something, you say something. If you cannot report to the nearest Ambazonian State Army, reach out to your county officials, reach out to your defense representatives, provide the intelligence to them, provide the information. We would make sure that we hold the enemy that is perpetrating those acts accountable by all standards. We'll put them in the record books. We'll take action where we can to make sure our people are protected and defended at all times. So thank you again, Star, for that opportunity, and we look forward to coming back again some other time to talk on other matters concerning our nation.
Thank you to Commander Elvis, and thank you, Barrister Mgbeseha. Thank you for joining in on the show.
You're welcome.
Coming up next is African
Thank
News.
you.
Yeah.
All right, on the African scene, we have President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, who has secured another term in Algeria, but his re-election comes at a time of regional instability. Deadly flooding has claimed dozens of lives, and the country is dealing with infrastructure damage from the recent storms. Tebboun's administration faces growing challenges, both from internal demands for economic reform and from regional issues such as the Nile Dam dispute and instability in neighboring Sudan and Libya. As Algeria's gas exports remain vital to its economy, Tebboun's government must balance domestic pressures with the need to maintain international energy partnerships, especially in light of rising global energy demand. The current crisis in North Africa could complicate Algeria's role as a regional stabilizer. While in Nigeria, it hit the news that a fuel tanker exploded. Nigeria continues to grapple with its transportation safety crisis following this tragic fuel tanker explosion in Niger State, which claimed 48 lives. This is a stark reminder of the systemic issues plaguing the nation's roads. The absence of a robust railway system forces reliance on road transport, contributing to frequent accidents. Recent updates show that in addition to the mass burial for the victims, authorities are calling for stricter enforcement of road safety regulations. With ongoing fuel shortages and price hikes, reckless driving and poorly maintained vehicles are an ever-growing threat. Federal authorities have yet to outline a comprehensive plan for addressing the root causes of these deadly accidents. While in Kenya, mourning school fire victims amid renewed calls for safety reforms. We have Kenya, who has initiated DNA testings to identify the victims of the devastating dormitory fire that claimed 21 lives. The tragedy has reignited discussions around safety standards in Kenyan schools. Adding to the nation's grief is the recent violent death of Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei, who was set on fire by Dixon Ndema, her alleged attacker and ex-partner. Ndema has since died from burns sustained during the attack. As the country mourns both tragedies, government officials have pledged it to overhaul school safety protocols while addressing broader issues of violence and safety in East Africa. Cheptegei's death has drawn international attention, reminding the region of the ongoing dangers faced by public figures and school children alike. In Tanzania, opposition members, the political scene has been rocked by the murder of the Chadema party official Ali Mohammed Kibao, who was beaten and doused with acid. President Samia Suluhu Hassan's call for an investigation has so far yielded little public information. The growing violence against opposition figures and reports of other missing officials underscore the increasing instability within Tanzania's political system. Meanwhile, regional tensions are high as the death toll from recent flooding in neighboring Algeria and Morocco continues to rise, with over 20 people dead and dozens missing. Authorities in both countries are racing to aid affected regions dealing with storm damage at a time when North Africa is grappling with severe drought. In Ethiopia, we see the Ethiopia-Egypt Nile dispute escalating as regional tensions boil. Ethiopia's insistence on continuing to fill the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD, without reaching an agreement with Egypt has escalated tensions further. Egypt's reliance on the Nile makes this dispute a critical issue for its survival, and the country's protests have now reached the United Nations Security Council. The conflict has added a geopolitical dimension as Egypt strengthens military ties with Somalia, Ethiopia's neighboring state. The flooding crisis in North Africa adds another layer of complexity as both Algeria and Morocco face catastrophic flooding that has displaced thousands. The torrential rains have disrupted water supplies, compounding the region's water management challenges, which are linked to broader geopolitical disputes over natural resources. Sudan's war is still raging on. In the ongoing civil war, new airstrikes in Sennar deepens the humanitarian crisis. While the civil war in Sudan continues to devastate civilian areas, with the latest airstrike in Sennar state killing at least 21 people. Activist groups have attributed the attack to the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, which have assumed control over much of the city. Rescue efforts are underway, but the country's infrastructure is severely strained by the ongoing conflict. This latest attack, alongside a similar airstrike in al-Suki, highlights the increasing toll on civilians, as both the RSF and the Sudanese armed forces continue to target populated areas. The situation in Sudan has become one of the worst humanitarian crises so far, with both sides committing atrocities and a recent United Nations report indicating potential war crimes. While North Africa struggles with dual crises, flooding and reconstruction efforts, with Algeria and Morocco reeling from floods that have claimed over 20 lives and left many missing. The floods caused by torrential rains have disrupted essential services like electricity and water supply, adding to the strain in both countries. In Morocco, the floods come amid a broader water crisis due to consecutive years of drought. Reconstruction efforts in both Morocco and Libya are struggling as well. In Libya, a year after devastating floods caused by Storm Daniel, the political landscape remains fractured, with military strongman Khalifa Haftar consolidating power in the wake of the disaster. This crisis underscored the need for better disaster management and regional cooperation in North Africa. And with that, we'll head on to the news across the globe. Well, on the global scene, with less than 2 months to go until Americans cast their ballots for president on election day, we see Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will confront each other in their first debate today. The Republican ex-president and the Democratic vice president remain locked in a tight race, both nationally and in the swing states. The primetime duel on ABC News will be their first meeting and only the second time they have shared the same room. It is not the first debate of the campaign. Trump faced Joe Biden on stage in June, weeks before the president dropped out of the race. The debate begins at 21 EDT and 2 BST on Tuesday, 10th September today. It takes place live on U.S. network ABC from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The event will last 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks, and there will be no audience in the room. As well as we all know, presidential debates matter in American politics, and the one that takes place this Tuesday night between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, their only currently scheduled face-off, may matter more than most. According to reports, Joe Biden's poor performance in the first presidential debate in late June created a firestorm of pressure within the Democratic Party that ultimately forced him to abandon his re-election campaign. Even though Kamala Harris has been vice president for more than 3 years and a candidate for president for 7 weeks, she is still a relative unknown for many Americans. In a recent New York Times survey, 28% of likely November voters said they needed to know more about the Californian. On the other end, Elon Musk is on pace to become the world's first trillionaire by 2027, according to a new report from a group that tracks wealth. Informa Connect Academy's findings about the boss of the electric car maker Tesla, private rocket company SpaceX, and social media platform X, which is formerly known as Twitter, stems from the fact that Musk's wealth has been growing at an average annual rate of 110%. He was also the world's richest person with 251 billion US dollars, beg your pardon, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, as the Academy's 2024 $1 trillion Club report began circulating on Friday. The Academy's analysis suggested business conglomerate founder Gautam Adani of India would become the second to achieve trillionaire status. That would reportedly happen in 2028 if his annual growth rate remains at 128%. 123%. While Jensen Huang, the chief executive officer of the tech firm Nvidia, and Prajogo Pangestu, the Indonesian energy and mining mogul, could also become trillionaires in 2028 if their trajectories hold. Bernard Arnault, the LVMH Moët Hennessy Louis Vuitton boss and the world's third richest person with about 200 billion US dollars, is also on track to eclipse $1 trillion in 2030, the same year as Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta. And that is all from news across the globe. Coming up next will be the recap of Undaunted tonight, just before we go. Just before we go, these are the recaps for Undaunted tonight. We have the Ambazonian war disrupting the new school year, with the school resumption marred by little or no attendance in Ambazonia due to the national lockdown. We also saw Ambazonian forces led by General Onlibro showcasing strength and pride. The struggle as well for infrastructure in Ambazonia continues. On the African scene, we saw Algeria's Tebboune re-elected amid the regional turmoil. And the U.S. presidential election debate happening tonight was on the global scene. With that, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart and will leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.